Sarah. How are you doing?
Absolutely brilliant, Gwen. It's lovely to meet you again.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you on. WLG crew, this is Sarah Kent. She is our guest for today, and we are about to have a power-packed conversation that I cannot wait to get into. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You have to tell everybody where you are.
So, if you haven't guessed by my accent yet, just have a little think about my accent. Queen's English or King's English now, of course, that's it. So
Uh-huh.
I'm in England, in the UK, and if you're wondering about this backdrop, I live on an off-grid narrowboat. So that's on the inland waterways of England. It's as wide as you can see, and there's about 40 feet of living space. So it's like a tiny home, but a stretched one.
I love that. And I glad you said that because I wanted people to know, like, this is not a Zoom background. Okay. This is It is your real home, and I think that's fantastic. And we're going to get into more about that later. I want to start by giving you your flowers, reading your bio. Let me introduce to you Miss Sarah Kent. So, to our listeners, Sarah is a former astrophysicist and meteorologist turned insight catalyst and wild soul coach. That is amazing. After turning her life upside down and saying yes to my dreams a few years ago, she now lives and works from a beautiful off-grid narrowboat that she just described to you, based on the inland waterways of England and Wales. Sarah has always danced with both science and soul, and she weaves them together in her coaching. She helps women who have experienced burnout to create a life which lights them up from the inside out and to discover a clear and sustainable pathway to creating the legacies they dream of. That is a gift in itself that you do for so many women, and we'll get into that too. She's also the curator of the Dreamworks Project, which is devoted to inspiring and affirming the dreams of women around the world. I don't even know like where to start, Sarah. It's so much interesting things to talk about here, even in just the bio. I would love for you to define astrophysics for us. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, it's like having a degree in rocket science.
Huh?
I have always been insanely curious about how everything works. So that's our inner world,
Uh-huh.
but also outer space. So astrophysics is how do stars work? How do galaxies work? How does the universe work? Or how do we think it works? Put it at that. So
Ah,
that's astrophysics. Yeah.
I love that. So, sometimes when you were in your work, when you were in that field, we used to have a saying here that it's not rocket science, but for you it really was rocket science, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I have to admit, if I'm doing any boat maintenance now, like the diesel engine on the boat, if I get stuck, I'm telling myself, look, it's how hard can it be? It's not rocket science. Yeah.
Exactly. And let's just talk about living on a boat and how you got to living on a boat. Tell us everything you want to share about that because that is so interesting and it just feels and sounds like really free to me.
It is. And there's also a lot of buts or ands.
Uh-huh.
Anyone
Exactly.
anyone who lives in an RV knows it's not people say, oh, you're living a dream. And there's a like a yes, but
Uh-huh. I love that.
so
Uh-huh.
um so I spent a long time in science,
Yeah.
but I also did a lot of training and healing and coaching, and
Yeah.
I couldn't bring the two together. It was just the way work was set up.
Yeah.
So um it was during COVID actually. I just realized that I was getting really close to burnout again.
Yeah.
And so I asked myself, well, if this isn't working, what kind of life would? So it was
Mm.
like, what kind of life would nourish me? And I ended up writing, it took a while,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it all
Mm-hmm.
in one go, a long list of the things that would, I thought, really, really lift me up and give me
Yeah.
energy.
Right.
So living close to nature each day,
Mm.
living as lightly as possible. So
Oh.
as off grid, if I could, or as close to it as you can when you're.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had this long list, and then my next door neighbour at the time said, "I'm going to buy a narrowboat." And I thought, I didn't know you could live on narrowboats. I thought
Right.
in UK we don't have RVs, we have
Right.
caravans, but they're just
Right.
like weekend getaways.
Uh-huh.
But once I knew you could live on beautiful boats like this,
Yeah.
I it ticked
Yeah.
nearly everything on that list. And I haven't got any dependents. So it was a case
Mm.
of, if not when,
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So I left my job, I resigned, I sold my house, and 6 months later, about 2.5 years ago now, I found myself for the first time ever in my life living on a narrowboat with a lot to learn, of course, this diesel
Yeah.
engine maintenance. None of it's rocket science, as I've said,
Yes.
but the electrics and just the logistics.
Yeah.
There's only 400 litres of water on the boat, which is
Ah.
more than you get in an RV. But
Yeah.
the boat only moves at 4 miles an hour as a top speed,
Wow. That's a
maximum
top
speed.
speed.
Yes, yeah. The inland waterways are a relic of our Victorian industrial kind of archaeology.
Uh-huh.
So the
Uh-huh.
system is very, very old, and water taps might be 2 days cruising away. So managing getting water, the other logistics of being on a boat with food, around
Yeah. Yeah.
running my business now, because that also,
Yes.
you can see, that nourishes me as well. So
Yes.
there has been a lot to learn over the last 2 years, but I wouldn't turn the clock back. I really wouldn't turn the clock back.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like it's totally worth it. All of the challenges seem to be totally worth it because I think I heard you say you wanted to live as lightly as possible. And what was the first thing you said? Something that energized you? It was two
Nourishes.
nourishes. Yes.
Nourishes, yeah, yeah. I love that term because we're used to nourishing ourselves with food, but we are
Right.
more than our bodies. You've got to nourish your mind. And it's
Yes.
even bigger than that because you
Yeah.
can do those two things, but you need to nourish your soul or your spirit, whatever you want to call it. Because
Mm.
that's the thing. If you're not feeding that, you will get close to burnout or you'll get close to breakdown. At some point, the rest of your system is going to go, whoa, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
And and you've got to start paying attention to that bit. Anyone who's got close to burnout will know exactly what I'm talking about here.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And that nourishing, I feel like that's something that as women or that women at large universally like long for. Why do you feel like we can't get to it? Like a space where we feel nourished. I mean, even in our relationships, when I think about nourishment, I feel like if I have a nice, like you said, we equate it to food. If I have a nice meal, I feel like after I've had that meal, it has satisfied something in me, right?
Mm.
Is that kind of what you mean when you say nourished or something is satisfied or contented or fulfilled? Break that down for us.
Yeah, so I love the word fulfilled
Yeah.
there. So if you're living a life that feels fulfilling,
Yeah.
that fulfilling life is going to be something different for everybody
Uh,
because each of us has different dreams.
yeah.
Or just in the way that I I love, say, I love biscuits.
Yeah.
You might like eating, sorry, British biscuits are hard and crumbly.
Yeah.
They're not like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
biscuits.
Yeah.
But you might like eating pie.
Yeah. I
So
love cake.
yeah. So everyone's soul will be also nourished by something different. That's
Mm-hmm.
the key thing. But you will know intrinsically what it is because you will feel content, you'll feel at peace, you
Oh,
might feel joyful. Everyone will have a different note, but you will know intrinsically, yeah, this is good for me, or this is good for my soul.
ah,
Again, it's that phrase that we throw
yes.
around. But if we listen to our words,
Mm,
we're telling ourselves all the time, we do know what is going to work for us. But you asked, why is it so hard for us as
yeah.
women?
Yeah.
And we are still, even today, raised as carers.
Mm,
And that's to care about others, to look, it's as part of our nature. And it's part
yes.
of men's
Yes.
nature as well, but we are
Yeah.
raised as carers. And
Mm-hmm.
still in society, it's the norm to get married, you're going to have kids, and it's still the
Mm,
norm for women to take that career break to look after the kids.
mm-hmm.
And so and of course, if you've got kids, yeah, you're going to put their needs first because it's,
Right.
again, that's
Right.
our hormones. We're
Right.
programmed to do this.
Yeah.
Um, but if we could care for ourselves first, If we looked after,
Mm.
it's like in an aeroplane, put your oxygen mask on
Yeah,
first. If we
exactly.
looked after ourselves first, we would be living at our best for ourselves. Not
Mm.
necessarily living our best life, because that's
Yeah,
something different, but we would be able to acknowledge our gifts. We would be able to
yeah.
really bring our medicine into the world, whatever that looks like for different people.
Mm.
But it's so challenging because
Yeah.
we are taught, and again, as females, we are made in some respects to care and devote our time to looking after
Mm.
others. So
Yes.
we have to learn so many extra new skills,
Yeah.
listening to what is it, what do we want? And then
Yeah.
even when you get that, what are boundaries? How,
Uh-huh.
how do I hold a firm boundary that
Mm-hmm.
is
And what will
kind
people
and,
think?
yeah, and boundaries, they don't have to be like the wall of China. They
Right.
can be permeable. They can move and flex. But
Yeah. Yeah.
many women haven't learned even how to do that in a way which feels comfortable for them.
Mm.
So we have so many
Yes.
challenges.
I, oh my goodness. Yes. I love what you said. Women haven't learned to do boundaries in a way that feels comfortable for them.
Mm.
That right there is powerful and it's super insightful. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that? Now, I'm just saying because for me, in my worldview, boundaries are hard because people like to say, um, my no is a complete sentence and just say no. And it's so easy to say no. And I always say, well, the no comes with consequences,
Mm.
either somebody's reactions or somebody's feelings or like, right? Like it's not always so easy to say no or I can't. But that depends on your personality and how you were raised, I believe too. But just talk a little bit more about that. Being able to craft a boundary in a way that feels comfortable to you because we are wired to consider the others
Yeah.
first.
And you know what? You can hold boundaries and still be really considerate of the other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the piece that comes into that is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not here to fix any other human beings. And
Uh,
that comes into that
that's so
part of the
good.
caring thing.
Right.
So, first of all, it's like, where does a boundary need to be? It could
Mm.
be something as simple, I'm not answering my phone after nine
Mm-hmm.
o'clock in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
because if I do, I'm never going to get to sleep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to end up then doom scrolling later in the night, and
Yeah.
just that'll be that. You can tell your friends, if you need to contact me, drop me a text, send me an email, I'll get back to you in the morning, and just communicate, because just communicate your needs. So it's
Mm.
not on them saying, I hate you doing this
Mm-hmm.
because then you make me do X, Y, and Z. No, own your behavior and say, what do I want to change about that? And what do I need to have in place so that I can honor the behavior that I want in my life, which may
Mm-hmm.
be picking
I
up a
love that.
book, putting the
Yeah.
phone down.
Yeah, exactly. I had to get to a place where I take my phone after a certain time and literally put it in another room.
Yeah.
I mean, it was getting bad. And I was like, I'm just scrolling. Like you said, it's mindless scrolling. Or I have this need to respond. And it's not like some of it is, oh, I don't want them to be mad or offended, but some of it is also, I feel like I'm going to have so many that I'm going to forget. Right. So I need to go ahead and respond so that I don't forget and then have to deal with the outcome of the forgetting. Um, so yeah, I've had to figure out a way personally to handle these things as well. But I really love what you said because it sounds like the undertone of being able to set boundaries in a way that is comforting for you is to really redefine this idea of what care is and what it looks like. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, when someone else knows where your boundary is, it actually means they can safely get as close to that boundary
Yeah.
as they can,
Yeah.
and they're not going to be triggering you.
Very true.
So it's actually a way, if people know where your boundaries are, it's a way for them to get closer, because they're
Uh,
not tiptoeing around the edges.
yeah, I
So
love that.
it's a way to deepen relationships
Yeah.
as well. But at the
Yeah.
same, the communication piece is a key part of that as well.
Mm-hmm. And so you are a wild soul coach. Okay. And you have a unique coaching style that I thoroughly enjoy. Can you tell us about your coaching title, The Wild Soul, and then tell us about your coaching style?
Okay, well, you know from listening so far, I've got a background in science. That was
Yes.
the outer space. I also did the inner space. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the longer you've been alive, the more you start doing some of this inner work. Even if you're
Mm-hmm.
just dipping in, some of us get thrown in and you end up like this.
Uh-huh.
But
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, I was really curious about the inner space because actually, if you want to Google somatics,
Yeah.
you don't have to study somatics with any degree of depth to realize that we don't just think with our mind.
Yeah.
We experience life with our whole bodies. You only have to smell something, a nice piece of
Yes.
cake, a
Yes.
cake, you like cake, and
Yes.
it may bring back an amazing memory the
It,
first time you had a particular type of cake.
yeah.
Actually, my mouth's watering now. I'm thinking,
Yeah. Look, me too.
chocolate. But so we've got an entire ecosystem which includes our minds, but it also
Mm-hmm.
includes our bodies, the wisdom of experience that can be stored within gestures and physical positions and
Mm-hmm.
emotions, all of that. And there's a lovely quote which I scribbled down because I could never remember it
Yeah.
properly, but it says the I think it's attributed to Einstein, but so
Uh-huh.
many things have been attributed to Einstein. But it's
Yeah.
the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the
Mm.
rational mind is a faithful servant. We have
Oh,
created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So
man.
my coaching style will come to you as an entire ecosystem. I want your intuitive knowledge, that deep innate wisdom, your life experience to be able to come to the surface so
Mm-hmm.
it can partner your intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And I've called that intuitive knowledge and that wisdom your wild soul because it's
Ah,
if you look at children before they've been taken to preschool, they are already embodying their wild soul. They know what they're
yeah.
here for. They're in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the focus shifts to up here. But if we can get back in touch with those things which are most vital to us, I call that our wild soul,
Yeah.
that's when we can start crafting a life which has real meaning
Mm.
and fulfillment to us. Or it gives us the choices. We've always got a
Yeah.
choice ultimately, but it shows us what we could do. Um, sim- Often simple choices doesn't mean to say they're going to be easy ones. This is the thing. And so much is
Yeah.
what my coaching is. So particularly for women who've come close to burnout or even
Yeah.
gone through it, um, you just sit back and just think sometimes like what was it all for? You can have a
Yeah.
outwardly brilliantly successful career
Mm-hmm.
but be completely unfulfilled by it because it's not food for your soul. That's the thing, it's not filling you up from the inside out. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I work. It's for these women, whoever I work with, and it's primarily women. What kind of a life would nourish them? What kind of a
Mm.
life would light them up from the inside out? And once they've done that, they have normally got back in touch with their dreams. And that's what legacy do they want to live with their life? What do they want to create with their lives?
Mm.
And one of the things I wish everyone listening would remember is that your life, our lives, are our message to the world.
Yeah.
When people look back at how we lived. So what kind of a message do you want to leave with your life?
Mm.
Big
That's
question, I know, but
that's a big question. It's a lot to think about. And
yeah.
I, the wild soul, and listening to your description of it, I am curious. Did you choose about your choice of the word wild? Is that kind of synonymous to the free soul? In essence, like we've been tamed, but once we kind of get in within alignment is a word you use a lot, that we're now kind of like wild and free? Or tell me a little bit
Well,
about that.
it's more that you can hear its voice.
Yeah.
So it's the easy way for me to describe it. It's the
Yeah.
piece of us that was never tamed, but it's also the piece of us that has never forgotten the
Uh,
things that will nourish us. It's the piece which does hold our dreams. And dreams, and that by dream, I mean something that you long to
yeah,
create in your life. And I don't mean
yeah,
something that society's dreams
mm-hmm,
tend to live in our heads.
yeah,
The things that we would love to create
mm-hmm.
often come from somewhere else. And the wild soul is the keeper and the guardian of all of those aspects of
I love that.
life.
Yeah, I love that. And so I have had the wonderful opportunity to experience your coaching, and it was a phenomenal experience. And you have a way of asking questions that really do lead you down the path of
Mm.
finding that space that you're describing. And have you always been, I know you said you've been inquisitive majority of your life, but cultivating that skill and that almost gift
Mm.
of asking questions that take you deeper,
Mm.
is that like, where does that come from? Tell us about that. Talk about that, please.
So I did start off training as a coach. It's well over a decade, and
Uh-huh.
I'm a continual learner. Is that the
Yeah.
phrase? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm always going to be dipping in
Yeah. Yeah.
things. But what I found with a lot of conventional coaching is that people would come, they'd give you their problem, they'd say, I'd want to have this happen, and then they'd wait for me to give them advice.
Mm.
And I thought, how can I do that? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not the expert on this person's life. I don't know
Yeah.
the depth of their
Oh,
experience.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Any anything that I suggest, even if to me it sounds great and is obvious,
Yeah.
just like a sticking plaster fix. I don't know if it's going to
Mm-hmm.
stick.
Yeah.
That's the trial and error thing. And I thought if someone's going to create a change that lasts, it has got to come from within them. And that
Mm-hmm.
for me is what true coaching about. It's invoking your everything you know. And a lot of that's in the conscious mind. I've talked
Yep.
about the wild soul, but we've got
Yep.
so much stuff buried in our unconscious. So
Right.
how the hell do we access that? So
Right.
this is what I started working on and investigating. And there was a New Zealand psychologist named David Grove, an amazing man. He
Yeah.
passed away
Yeah.
some years ago now, but
Uh-huh.
he created something called Clean Language.
Mm-hmm.
And I do base my coaching off that. You can look it up anywhere, Clean
Yeah.
Language.
Yeah.
It's deceptively simple, but that's like a set of spanners and a socket set.
Uh-huh.
You can use them. I mean, I can use them on my engine now because I've
Right.
learned the skill of using them. But if you
Yeah.
haven't got
Yeah.
the skill in how to use these tools,
Yeah.
they're just blunt instruments.
Uh-huh.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you learn how to apply these clean language questions, they prevent any of my biases or ideas or desire to fix.
Yeah.
I cannot contaminate
Mm.
your experience. So while I talked about, say, clean living and trying
Yeah.
to live as lightly as possible, I
Right.
take the same ethos to my coaching in that I don't want to contaminate your experience with what I think should be
Mm.
the answer for you. I'm going to help you find your own answer. And that, yeah, it's going to require some deep perspective shifts or
Yeah.
insights. And a lot of the time I work in metaphor because
Yeah.
metaphors exist at this weird interface between what we
Uh-huh.
know up here
Uh-huh.
and in whatever's in the unconscious mind. So if you work in metaphor and you get an insight or the metaphor changes, everything else changes at the same time. So
Uh,
it can be an incredibly powerful process.
it's
And
almost, yeah, it's almost, and this might not be an appropriate choice of words, but for me, this is for me, it's almost a bit of like a sacred process. Like it's almost a bit of a sacred experience because you are teaching us in essence to trust ourselves
mm,
and that we have in us the answers.
yeah,
We literally just don't know how to access them or unlock whatever.
yeah,
We don't have keys to unlock whatever
yeah.
is there. And I could be using the wrong language, so help me out. But
They're great metaphors.
yeah, right, right. What are your thoughts?
So this is why I normally work with women over a series of sessions because life.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
So I want to walk alongside whoever I'm working with. So I'm
Yeah.
not in front, I'm not guiding them because they are
Yeah.
finding their own path, but I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
walk alongside them for a series of months. But through working in this way with a coach like me, they are learning if a problem comes up, they know how to explore it. They also know how to flip things around to find
Yeah.
solutions or to remind ourselves
Mm-hmm.
we often know a lot about our problems, but one of the most powerful questions you can always ask yourself is simply, what would I like to have happen?
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Yeah.
when something's broken, what would you like to have happen? Um, and immediately you're looking towards the future and something that you can change, because when you're stuck in a problem, that's invariably something that's happened in the past,
Yeah.
maybe the present, and there's not much you can do about it because it's
Mm-hmm.
there
Yeah.
to find a solution. And then you start to learn how to pay attention to where your answers might be coming from. Yeah, some of them come from up here, but not
Mm.
all of them.
Pay attention to where your answers might be coming from, and they don't all come from our brains.
Not always.
What are other places that our answers come from? I love this so much. Sarah, I do.
I, you know what? we've only got so much time today. But so for sure, I've talked about metaphors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so you might think, well, what is this problem like? Well, it feels
Yeah.
like I'm banging my head against a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all felt that. What would you like to happen? Well, I'd love for the brick wall not to be there, but it is. I'd love for there to,
Uh,
or I'd love for there to be a door. Oh, actually, there's a door. Explain.
mm-hmm.
The door's locked. Okay, so but immediately your attention is has been shifted.
Yeah.
Right, how am I going to open the door? Do I need some
Yeah.
help?
Yeah.
So it's a way of shifting attention.
Ah, okay. That makes so much sense because you were saying it doesn't all come from the mind. So I was thinking,
Always.
but we as women, I don't feel like explore our hearts
That's it.
oftentimes.
But the thing is, can you imagine what it feels like banging your head against a brick wall?
Sounds
So,
painful.
yes.
Uh-huh.
However, that's not the only way to describe a problem. For someone else, it might be, I'm stuck in a tunnel and there's a light, and I know it's not the end of a tunnel, it's
Mm-hmm.
a freight train on its way.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
someone else describing this sense of frustration or impending doom. But you've described it in a way that you could probably. So when you're stuck in this tunnel and there's light coming towards you,
Right,
what
right.
would you like to have happen? And when
Ah,
you can find a solution within the context of the metaphor, and by the way, I do guide people with this.
right, 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 right,
That's
right.
it, yeah. Um, you can find your own solution. And because
I,
it's in this weird word world of
yeah,
metaphor,
yeah.
you can find, intrinsically what that's going to look like in normal reality.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I feel like I get so excited about this because I feel like by you're giving us back the power of choice, I feel like ultimately you're giving women on the brink of burnout, as you described it, their power back because burnout, and we can talk about that, but it's a helpless, hopeless feeling because oftentimes you feel like you cannot control the things in your world contributing to
Mm.
that
Yeah.
burnout. So, I mean, do you agree or what are your thoughts? Because I feel like you're giving us power back by giving back the power of choice.
Yeah. And again, I want to acknowledge that choice, it doesn't mean that you've got an easy decision.
That's
It
very
doesn't,
true. That's so
it's
true.
a very different thing. And life is not always easy. So you can have a real clear, like for me, I resigned from my job and I
Hmm.
sold my house and I'm on a boat,
Yeah.
but I don't have any children. I have no dependents.
Right.
So if it all goes wrong, I can do something else. I haven't got these
Yeah.
extra responsibilities and the trappings that
Right.
come for so many women in the world. But when you know this is what this is what a nourishing life would look like for me.
Hmm.
I know this is what I would love to create. And I'm in this awful role right now. I'm working shifts. I don't see my
Yeah.
kids enough. I can barely
Yeah.
afford daycare. And well, when was the last time I actually had a conversation with my other half?
Yeah.
But if you know what a nourishing life looks like, you can share that. Talk to the people in your life and saying, look, I am close to the edge. And I
Mm.
know you can start weaving
Yeah.
threads from this into your life as it is right now. It's the same with our dreams. People think,
Yeah.
I've got this amazing dream.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue how to create it, but
Mm-hmm.
there will be aspects, there will be threads from that dream that you can start weaving into your life even today. And when you start doing that, that is literally medicine for you
Yeah.
because you are
Mm-hmm.
invoking what is ultimately your own medicine, because your own medicine will nourish you. It's your own gifts and
Yeah.
talents and being able to express them into the world.
I love that. Two words that you said, dreams, and you said, I heard you say it during our discussion, alignment. Okay. And so really, I believe, like you said, using, by giving ourselves the medicine that lies within us, it brings us back into alignment and then puts us on a path to begin to somehow um, manifest our dreams. Is that kind of accurate?
Well, I'm always hesitant over the word manifest because I mean, God knows, if you go online and put manifest into Google,
Yeah.
I mean, God help you, to be quite frank, you'll be there for days reading
Yeah.
through the answers.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But we co-create.
Love that. Yeah.
We don't just put like, I really want this. I know this is what I'm here for. This is what I want to
Yeah.
create in my life.
Love that.
You still have to take steps towards it. And in taking those steps towards it, I think life does start paying attention and might start stepping towards you. But it's a dance, it's an act of co-creation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of these people that believes if you sit there and feel it hard enough, it's going to pop into your life.
Yeah.
That hasn't been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. No, not mine either. I totally agree with you. Manifest wasn't, I was thinking, like you said, cultivate, but I love co-create. I love
Yeah,
co-create. That means you're an active participant in your
yeah,
life. Like
yeah.
I love that. And so I don't even know. So I don't know the dreams. There's so many ways. You have this Dreamworks project.
Yeah.
I mean, dreams are very an intricate part of your life, and you've dedicated a significant portion of your life to this work around dreams. Tell us about it, and let's get into a dream.
Okay. Well, first of all, for people listening, by dream, I don't mean the dream that you have at night.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean the dream as in an aspiration,
Mm-hmm.
something that you, again, long to create with your life. But I've used the word long, or you could use the word love, because
Uh-huh.
it comes from here. The dream, or for me, it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from here. The dreams of society, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I dream of having, two cars, two kids, a house with three en suites. And
Yep.
I don't think we're born wanting those things.
Yeah.
My dreams, I've always wanted to travel, for instance. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to learn. I've always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And those threads have manifested through my life in different ways at
Yeah.
different points because I'm a changing person. As I
Right.
learn,
Yeah.
there's different ways that I can make a difference. So,
Uh-huh.
but it's knowing what these threads are in your life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you've got a huge dream or you simply dream of living a quiet life. Those
Mm-hmm.
dreams, those longings are
Yeah.
invitations from life for you
Mm.
to express your medicine, your gifts into the world. Um, and again, you may not be able to say yes to the whole dream, but
Yeah.
you will be able to take strands from it and weave those into your life. And you will be
Mm-hmm.
making a difference. You will feel better. You will feel fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
when you do this. I've interviewed more than 200 women
Yeah.
now, and certainly some of these women have been in their late 70s.
Mm.
They've you would have they created all of their dreams? Yes,
Ah,
and they have more.
Yeah.
It
I
doesn't
love
stop.
that.
That's the thing. It just doesn't stop. If you say yes to your dreams and you bring them into the world, you don't run out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ah, that is interesting. So the DreamWorks Project, you have given women an exciting opportunity to express their dreams and then share them. So like tell us about it.
Yeah. It's during my life, there were ideas I wanted to, for instance, go to Mars.
Yeah.
And there were many reasons why that didn't happen, including a few Gulf wars, for instance.
Uh-huh.
So that was a
Hmm.
dream which I let go of, but that dream was an expression of my longing to travel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm traveling on my boat now. You've probably watched
Perfect.
that one already.
Yes.
So, um, but I think because I have let go of dreams, but have noticed how I'm still living them in many respects, I
Yeah.
wanted other women to be able to notice that, and
Mm-hmm.
also for the dreams of women to be able to inspire and affirm the dreams of others. So that's the idea
Yeah.
of the project. So as you say, I give women 20 minutes
Yeah.
to really connect deeply with one of their dreams and to
Mm.
share it. And then I take a transcript from that dream. They're all anonymized and
Yeah.
then they're published. They're out
Mm-hmm.
on Substack, but anyone can come and read these dreams. There's only about 40 out there at the moment because I only have time to
Yeah.
publish
Yeah.
one a week. But I'm going to carry on doing this for the foreseeable future because
Yeah.
the more you read, if you want to start reading, there are patterns
Yeah.
amongst the dreams of women. And remember, I said we seem to be programmed by society as well, but to
Yeah.
care for others, to put other people's first. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't actually show up that much in the dreams of women that come
Mm.
from here.
Yeah.
What does show up is collaboration,
Mm.
looking after each other, not caring, but supporting each other as a
Right.
community, restoring ecosystems and
Mm.
habitats. People, the women that I have interviewed, and a lot of
Yeah.
them have been invited in. They're not necessarily women in my first
Right.
circle of influence. They're women that
Right.
I would never have otherwise encountered.
Right.
They want to make a better world.
Yeah.
None of them have talked about I want to I want to be chief executive officer of XXX in 2 years'
Mm-hmm.
time, and I want to have a seven-figure salary. That has not been part of a single woman's dream.
Wow.
And I think that's because that CEO isn't
Mm-hmm.
idea. I'd say called it an idea. It's an idea
Yeah.
that society has dusted off with icing sugar and plopped a cherry on top for us to go, oh,
Absolutely. I agree.
and this is where burnout happens. Because
Mm-hmm.
you devote yourself to getting this beautiful piece of cake with
Yeah.
icing sugar and a cherry on top, and you get
Yeah.
there and you think, oh, I love travel. And here I am, stuck in, say, the heart of Atlanta, looking at all those planes going overhead. And I'm
Uh-huh.
stuck in my office working 10-hour days, 6 days a
Mm-hmm.
week. And then the remaining day of the week, God help me, I'm sorting a house out, doing laundry and
Yep. Yep. Yep.
getting the groceries in. So yeah, start noticing, where are your dreams coming from? Are they really yours?
Mm.
And it may be you're okay if they're not. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just check out, are they really the ones you think you were born with, or those threads that have followed you through your life? Or is it one of society's dreams, a nice piece of cake with a cherry
Yep.
on top?
And I love that you, first of all, I am privileged to be a part of the DreamWorks project. I'm so honored. And I will tell you, until you caused me to pause and consider this topic, I had not thought of a dream, not connected to a goal. So do you feel like maybe the goal of being CEO versus the dream? I feel like they're two different things that I wasn't aware of. Talk about that a little bit. What's your thoughts on that? Because I feel like we have goals, right? I want to
Yeah.
graduate college. I want to, like you said, the house, the family. And they might have been implanted by society, but an internal, intrinsic dream
Mm.
was something that I really had to put some thought into.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think a lot of it is down to semantics and languaging
Hmm.
ultimately,
Okay.
because we need to have some vocabulary to
Yeah,
describe all of this stuff.
exactly.
And say there's one lady, and you can read her dream on the project. She dreams of restoring rainforest, but you can't build an ecosystem
Yeah.
from ground zero. You can't do it from the scratch. What she's doing is helping and supporting people growing rainforests from the little islands that are left, because
Ah,
you've got a surviving ecosystem in these little
yeah.
islands, and you can grow it. Now, that's her dream. How
Mm-hmm.
does she measure progress? She may
Right,
well have goals in
right,
that. So
right.
it's kind of a languaging thing
Yeah,
as
agreed.
well. So you could say, oh, um, my goal is planting up 500 acres of native
Yeah,
woodland
yeah,
before I'm 60, and I'm going to do
yeah.
it by hand. So that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be 10 trees a week,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, So that's still a dream, but I just used the word goal for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, if I consistently call a dream something that comes from here,
Yeah,
we can measure progress with it. We can set goals along the way, but goals are, I think, a way for us. They're like just mileposts
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the barriers to dreaming for women specifically?
Um, so like, does my dream have to be big and shiny?
Uh, that's so
So
good. Yeah.
I've had women come and say, "Oh, I, I literally, I long to dream of living a quiet life."
Mm.
And I said, "Brilliant,"
Yeah,
because that dream, this woman can, when she brings this dream into being, her skill may be in imbuing calmness and peace through her
yeah.
family. One of the women, she had two kids with two autistic kids, and
Mm-hmm.
she can live a calm life. The difference that will make for her family and her kids and her husband, and then the difference that'll make to the people that meet,
Right.
it'll make all the difference for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one of the barriers I think to dreams is that we feel that dreams are supposed to be something big.
Yeah.
No, there's something that's important to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
difference. And how do you know they're important? You will know inside. There will be a
Mm-hmm.
feeling inside, and that you may not even want to share them because they are so precious.
Yeah. Yeah.
People people are afraid that they're going to get laughed at. So that, again, that's
Yeah.
part of the Dreamworks project. I've created a really safe space for
Yeah.
to bring anything to the space to be interviewed about. Um,
Yeah.
that's and again, what should we be dreaming about? Um, that's the
Yes.
thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm I'm across in the UK. There's a lot that's happening in the United States at the
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
and there's things I could dream of happening. They're
Mm-hmm.
kind of almost like wishes, to be quite frank.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
they're
Uh-huh.
not they're not my dreams though. But they're dreams that maybe they're societal dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for a dream and the fears of sharing it, it's
Mm.
we don't have the space. How many times do we actually get the opportunity, man or woman, to talk
Yeah.
about our dreams?
Yeah.
Career goals, yes, career planning, yes, you get
Yep.
that at college if you're lucky.
Yep.
Um, but we just don't have the space, and so we don't know how to listen because we don't have these
Yeah.
conversations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, it's I'd say it's tricky, but we just complicate things,
Uh-huh.
and it's a really important. Well, for me, evidently,
Yeah.
it is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
But I wish at school kids were invited to record their dreams, and then
Yeah.
they could keep that because the act of doing that, you will remember it. Some people, a few people, have said,
Mm-hmm.
"I don't have a dream,"
Yeah.
and I was actually writing one up the other day, and
Uh-huh.
this woman who said she didn't have a dream, she was actually living, doing this. She was in complete alignment with her values, everything that was important for her. She was
Uh-huh.
already doing that. And I think our dreams, we start saying yes to them. They're like course corrections. They bring us
Yeah.
back into alignment and
Yep.
everything that is important. So if you're already miraculously, you've been raised in a way that you already know what's important and you're
Yeah.
prepared to have those boundaries so you can honor and respect that.
Yeah.
It may be that your dream isn't conscious because actually you're already
Mm.
so deeply in its flow, it's not
Yeah.
separate from you. It's,
Wow. I love that. What about, I feel like you gave me through your work a certain permission to dream. Do you agree or disagree with that word permission? Because I mean, from my experience personally, I do believe that my life or my steps were particularly ordered in such a way that I ended up going to college, getting a degree in biology, and now as I have come into alignment and found out what some of my giftings are, now I'm 42 years old in school again, trying to pursue what I feel like now is dear and necessary to me. Now, I don't know. So I do feel like, of sorts, at some points in my life, I just didn't have permission because this is what I'm supposed to do.
yeah, yeah. Um, well, for everyone listening to this,
Yeah.
why don't you ask your best friend? Just say, we're going to have a cup of coffee. We're going to sit down for half an hour and I'm going to sit and listen for 15 minutes. And you just tell me about one of your dreams, something that you'd long to create. I'm not going to say anything. Um, and just give that person, and then flip around.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to say anything. You can just, and then see what difference that makes, how different you feel at the end
Mm.
of it. Because as you've experienced, I know I've experienced,
Mm-hmm.
certainly through interviewing all these women, is that when you speak a dream or something that is really important to you,
Mm-hmm.
our words somehow become, well, they're spells, but they become incantations.
Yep.
They
Mm-hmm.
awaken something
Yep.
more within us. So the dream itself, through being spoken, becomes more tangible. It
Mm-hmm.
feels closer. And
Yep.
you talked about permission to dream, but it's also
Yeah.
permission to, there's also permission to believe it's possible.
Ooh, yes.
And that is one of the things that can start emerging when you've just got space to communicate and talk about one of your dreams.
I love that you said that because literally I was thinking, it's so ironic. I was like, I want to have a dream party.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
I literally, when you were talking about the project, I was like, I gotta have a dream party. Like I have to get a group of women together and we literally just listen. Because that is a problem, I feel, when you're trying to share your dream. In my experience, you have somebody either interject their dream
Mm,
or share their opinion about it. So I feel like
yeah,
we would have to have rules. And you really outlined that perfectly with what you just
yeah.
said for the party.
Yeah, it's really easy. And if people can talk for 15 minutes, some people could talk for hours, let's
Yeah,
face
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
might only be able to talk for 10 minutes or even less because you've not actually felt into it. You haven't had this
Uh-huh.
opportunity before again.
Uh-huh.
So this, for some people, these threads, remember for me, it's
Yeah.
travel and learning,
Yeah.
etc. They've always been close to the surface for me. For others, if they've been buried by the shoulds of society for a long time, they're going to be subterranean probably, but they could be subterranean
Yeah.
rivers. They could be
Mm.
so strong and powerful. So when you do get back in touch with them, there's a wealth of information for you there about how you could live your life.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not going to make you restless because
Yeah.
you think, oh no, I'm here and I'd love to do this. Oh no, it's never
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Remember, you
Yeah.
can still take, if those are rivers, take some drops, take some water
Mm-hmm.
from that river and use it to water your own life right now. Uh,
Love that.
just listen. If you're listening, just listen. You don't have to say anything at all. You don't have
Yeah.
to make any notes. Yeah, that
Just
in itself,
listen.
that's a discipline as well. So,
Yes. And I wanted to get into you have mentioned so many times that I believe our medicine, you're calling it medicine, but I believe that's correlating or synonymous to a gift that
Yeah.
manifests or that is co-created. See how I'm learning from you? When you are in true alignment, when you find that true alignment with yourself. And you believe that women have the medicine that can heal the world or bring healing in certain
Yeah.
forms. What are your
Yeah.
share that? Because I think that's beautiful and I would love to learn more about that.
All of the dreams, and I'm not exaggerating, every single one of the 200 plus, I think it has been about collaboration and supporting
Hmm.
others, making a positive difference, restoring things, looking
Yeah.
after, I know this caring things, but it's about
Yeah.
looking after the planet that we're on in a way that future generations
Hmm.
are going to thank us for instead of cursing
Yeah.
us for. If you
Hmm.
imagine how we're living right now, I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure how future generations are going to thank us right now, but
Yeah.
these are the dreams of women. You're going to have to repeat your question for me, Gwen, because
Yeah, I can tend to be a little wordy too. I think you said that women have medicine that the world.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. And
So,
the question was basically just to elaborate and tell us,
yeah,
why you believe that and
yeah.
elaborate.
Well, not every woman has the opportunity to fully express her gifts.
Hmm.
Not every man does either,
Hmm.
but we are living in a society that you only have, well, for the last few thousand years has been primarily led by and dominated by men. I'm not dissing men, this is just the way
Yeah.
society is built.
Yeah.
And we have been primarily a caring role.
Hmm.
Um, and and I look at the world today, I don't see equality in sharing of resources. For
Hmm.
instance, if women had access to the same resources intrinsically as men throughout their lives,
Yeah.
everywhere, I think we'd be looking at a very different societal
Hmm.
setup. I mean, we
Hmm.
are talking about systemic change here. There's a
Definitely.
lot that would have to change that.
Right, right.
But it would be a very different world as well. And so through
Hmm.
expressing our gifts or connecting with them and going, actually, um, I'm really good at I'm really good at listening.
Hmm.
I'm going to go and listen to people so they feel heard. And
Mm.
maybe when people learn the gift of being heard, maybe they start listening. Imagine if we didn't talk
Ah,
over each other all the time.
yeah.
Imagine if communication shifted and changed. And that
Yeah.
could just come through some women whose medicine is listening, for instance.
Yep.
Um, in a world as topsy-turvy as it is today, I would love to see more women as leaders, as
Yeah.
compassionate leaders, as
Hmm.
leaders who believe in collaboration over competition,
Yeah.
who want to work together for a better world, as opposed to it
Hmm.
seems to be working against each other. We don't have to have this pecking order thing going
Yeah.
on in the world.
Yeah.
And the pecking order thing is really apparent right now. You don't have to look
Yeah.
into the news very much.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the reason for this project, to for women to really connect with their dreams so that through that they have the choice to bring their medicine into their lives, into their community and into the wider
Hmm.
world, because there's always these ripple effects.
And I really appreciate how you are like the medicine that we have. It doesn't have to be something, the medicine can be the gift of listening or and making somebody actually feel heard or the gift. Like I love that you are really calling us to our intrinsic gifts that we might deem insignificant,
Yeah.
but you're letting us know that they actually have value and they can be transformative.
Well, there was a certain diplomatic incidenty thing the other
Hmm.
week with a couple of world leaders, and listening might have played a imagine
Yeah.
what would have happened there if there'd been some listening going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be big. The important
Right.
thing is that you have connected with something. It feels easy. It's part of who you are. It's part of why you are here. So why not bring it into the world?
Love that. I love it. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I'm so excited that you have almost inspired us to dream again and to really kind of look into ourselves and consider ourselves and to ask ourselves and our friends these questions,
Yeah.
these provoking questions.
It's been an absolute joy. I can't believe how fast the time has gone.
I know the time's gone so fast. I wanted to ask you, could you just share one maybe fun fact about yourself
One fun
before we go?
fact. Okay, well, it's a weird fact. I used to be an ultra runner,
Yeah.
um, not because I was fast, but because I could go very slowly and not stop. And I used to
Ah,
win 100 plus milers.
really?
So it's kind of a weird fact, yeah. But I don't do it anymore. I haven't got
But
time.
that's
Yeah.
amazing though. You've
It's
actually
like,
run 100+ miles. Is that what I heard?
yeah, the 145 miles is the longest one, and I won the women's race for that. But the reason why
Uh-huh.
was because I didn't know if it was possible.
Ah,
So I trained and I wanted to find out what is possible for me today. And on that day, that's what I did. So don't ever say, "Oh, I could never do that."
mm,
You really don't know. And if it's important enough, you will find a way.
that is a perfect way to end this episode. Thank you so much for your time, for your gifts, and for this very important, very necessary conversation that we've had today. I appreciate you so much, Miss Sarah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
tell our guests, tell our listeners where to find you, how to connect with you, all the things.
Oh, yeah, all the things. So I am on the usual social
Yes.
platforms. So you can find me on Facebook. It's Sarah L. Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you'll know because there's a narrowboat as part of
Yeah.
my profile picture. That's easy enough. On LinkedIn, it's also Sarah L. Kent. Where else am I? I haven't got a
Is it
YouTube right now, but the Dreamworks.
Instagram? Are you on
No, I've
Instagram?
only
No.
got so much time, but my
Right.
website is
Perfect.
sarah.lkent.com. You're probably
That's
noticing a
perfect.
common theme here. Yeah. And if you're curious about the Dreamworks project, there's a page on my website which will tell you all about that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.